Welcome back. In today's video, I'm finally wrapping my car. I've decided to go with Piano Gloss Black. It is by Vivid. Let's get right into it. Of course, the most important step when it comes down to wrapping a car is the prep work. That is key. So I did wash my car a few days ago. I clayed the whole entire thing, so it is perfectly clean. All I gotta do now is just use some alcohol to degrease the panels that I'm wrapping. But to start off, I'm gonna do my roof, which should be the easiest part just because it's so flat. To start off, I'm gonna have to take off these trim panels and clean the underside. Then degrease the whole entire panel and then lay the wrap down. So once I finish that, I'm gonna move on to the trunk and the hood of the car. That is pretty much my goal for today. It shouldn't be too hard. I will have my girlfriend's help to help me lay down the wrap. Of course, it's more ideal to have more people, like approximately 4, to help you stretch the wrap in all 4 corners, but this should do. Of course, the hardest part is going to be the wide body panels and all the curves, just because I'm not too experienced with wrap. I have done my Miata before, but that was pretty simple. But the hardest part I feel like is going to be the wing with the gurney flap, just because there's so many angles on this wing. I'm going to have to use knifeless tape pretty much everywhere to make sure the wrap looks perfect on this thing. You want to carefully pop these off just so you don't bend these, because once you bend these, it is almost impossible to get them back to the original shape. And these are in perfect condition, so I'm going to try not to damage these and carefully pry them up one by one. Pretty much start in this end and grab it on the sides and pull up. Just like so. And as you can see, I got the whole trim panel off. It actually wasn't too bad. Just gotta put some muscle into it and pry it up. And here's what the clips look like. So once I got all the trim off of the car, including this in the front, it was also pretty easy. All you gotta do is just pick it up by the side right here and it'll pry up. And you can see how dirty the channels are, like I mentioned earlier. I sprayed them down just a little bit to loosen up the dirt. And I'm working this part with a towel to clean it up. Make sure it's nice and clean. After I finish this up, clean the rest of the roof, degrease it with alcohol, I'm ready to wrap. Now I just gotta squeegee it all out. I hate wrapping so much. Fucking sucks. I never want to do this as a side gig either. Fuck this. I fucking worked my hair out by the time I finish this shit. I just want to pace on so it's fine. I'm gonna pick up all of this pretty much and do it over again.
They had to hate it. I don't fuck with them niggas, they plastic, baby. I trapper, baby. I rap, but I own them on masters, baby. It's tragic, baby. I pull up and fuck up the traffic, baby. I'm savage, baby. I'm killing these niggas, crew casket, baby.
So I'm sure you've noticed I didn't film the part where I installed the roof too much, just because it was really frustrating and trying to glaze the roof was a challenge. And I was just really worried about the wrap peeling the clear coat, which luckily the roof is perfectly fine, but it did peel some clear coat my pillar right here, which I'll have to sand this down before I wrap it. Definitely gonna suck, but what can you do? And like I mentioned before, I did modify the piece for the front fender, and I absolutely hate how it came out. So my 3D printer just came in today. I just got it all set up, so once I get the filament in, I'm gonna try to scan this or modify it on the program and see if I can print this exact same panel, but actually modify it to where it fits the front of the car perfectly. And when it comes down to it, I might make some turbofans for the front and maybe even the rear as well, once I get comfortable enough with the program and the 3D printer. So that's gonna be coming pretty soon as well. All right, welcome back. I'm sure the car looks a little different now. I got a few more pieces wrapped, and as you can tell, the trunk is wrapped. And the hood. But honestly, I'm not doing so bad with the wrap. Luckily, I have a girlfriend to help me, like hold it and glass it and stuff. And like I said, I'm not perfect. There's a few little air bubbles and some glue lines, which I tried to prevent, but it's just really difficult. And I got a little surprise. So my girlfriend just picked up this 2001 NB Miata. It's a 5-speed manual. It was an autocross car, which the car requires quite a bit of work. And I'm sure you can see the 2 rust spots over there, which I'll be cutting and welding and stuff and doing all that. The car does need a decent amount of work. For example, the soft top is ripped and the glass is broken everywhere. So this needs to be replaced for sure. Car needs to be lowered on some nice 3-piece wheels. Probably wrapped a different color and a whole bunch of other stuff that you'll see on our YouTube channel. The interior is fairly clean. By clean, I mean not a whole lot of broken parts, but besides that, the interior is filthy. So it's gonna need a deep clean for sure. So yeah, there's her new project car. She's extremely excited about it because this is her first project car. I'm sure you guys saw before, this is her daily over there. It's a 2012 E350 that's lowered on scale suspension and work hairline wheels. But this is her project car that she'll be working on. And I'll try not to help her as much as I did with the car so she can really learn how to work on cars herself. So I'll be really looking forward to that one. We'll see how the car turns out and what she decides to do with it.
Now y'all want to get on some full shit? We ain't worried about it. Man, y'all see what's going on.
So I just did this lower piece over here. I'm gonna peel back the backing some more and keep going along the line. I am trying to glass it as I'm doing it, but it's a little difficult. I'm doing it by myself. So I got the pillar fully wrapped. All that's left now is just to trim the sides and actually wrap it around. And same thing on the top right here. And once that's finished, I'm gonna move on to the fender. Not too bad. Pretty happy with how it turned out. Like I said, having at least 2 people is a huge plus because one person can be pulling or glassing and the next person can be heating it up and the third person could be pulling it. I don't know. But I'm sure you guys see all the swirls and stuff and the perfections, but that's just the clear plastic that goes over the wrap. As soon as I get it all cut up and trimmed, I'm going to peel it right off and it's going to look like this. Almost like glass. This is what the roof looks like. So this is the final result for the pillar. Pretty happy with how it turned out.
Doing whatever the fuck you gotta do, man. Get your money by any means. Especially all my niggas that got kids and shit. Man, take care of your seed by any means. You know what I'm saying? For real, you got to. That's first and foremost. You know what I'm saying? Make them see what I'm saying. Visual, hopping on the jet with them bands. Temple, load up the Drake, leave a man. Critical, block with a switch your hand. Finish. Bitch got more money than a baby dad. Nigga just sad, pitiful. I know a clique got more rappers than step. This boy gon' shoot some man. See what I'm saying? I'm gonna see what I'm saying. First I want smoke, that is just playing. Nigga real hoes, you know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? I'm gonna see what I'm saying. Trying to fuck me soon as I land. Crack my out, she rip my brain. I need pressure in this motherfucker. Nigga, I gotta put some pressure on this nigga.
Y'all step back. Y'all step back. Y'all just hold up. Y'all step back.
My neck cause I'm ill a piece. I don't even like to freestyle for free. I put in the key and I ride it.
There's a Fender, all wrapped. I'm sure you see this area over here, it's not wrapped, but I decided not to waste my time wrapping this part just because the wide body hides it. So, and I just got the sunroof wrapped. Wrapping the sunroof was actually pretty easy. The hardest part was actually taking the sunroof out and putting it back in. But here it is. I did just take off the taillights, license plate, the bumper. So I'll be prepping this quarter panel to be wrapped. I just have to take off this piece of the wide body kit and the piece on the bottom. Then I'm going to take off the trim right over here and start wrapping this whole entire side and the back piece right there. So as you guys can see, I made a good amount of progress. I wrapped the fender, the door, this quarter panel, and the trunk piece right there. All I have left to do now is turn the car around, take off the other side of the wide body, and then do the same thing as I did in this side. And after that, all I have left is the trim panels and the wide body itself, with the bumpers, of course. That's the worst part. Of course, it's not perfect by any means, but I did it pretty much by myself with my girlfriend's help. The biggest thing that I did struggle with wrapping is obviously tucking stuff in the corners and trying not to leave any glue lines whenever I'm trying to glass it and squeegee it and stuff. Very difficult. Honestly, I kind of dig the look with no Pandem wide body. It looks pretty interesting with just the wheels sticking out. If I was to rate this overall job as of now, I'd probably give this a solid 6 out of 10. Maybe even 7 to be honest, but if you really look up close, there's a lot of imperfections, some peeling corners and stuff that I'm not a huge fan of, but I have a limited amount of wrap and I don't want to order more wrap and spend more money just to reduce some pieces. Maybe in the future if they actually start to get ruined. And another thing that really sucks about black is you can't really see on camera, but at certain angles where there's light, you can see some scratches already just from me gliding my finger through the panel. That's one thing that's going to suck with black color. All the imperfections will be seen. So, as you guys can see, this is what the car looks like fully wrapped in black. Of course, all I've left are the bumpers, trim pieces, and the wide body that goes around the car with the wing as well. But the wing I'll probably have to sand and actually refinish before I put any wrap on it, just because the texture is so rough. But as of right now, I'm going to install the little trim pieces, mirrors, door handles and stuff, and lights and stuff like that. And today I'm going to try to knock out wrapping this pile of trim. These are all the pieces I'll have to install. These over here, the C-pillar vents, I've actually ordered some new ones just because I don't want to mess with these ones too much because they're white and you can actually see through them. So I ordered some black ones and I'm just going to wrap over the black ones so you won't actually see any of the white. But that'll take a little while until it gets to me just because they're coming from Bulgaria. And you can see the big pile of wide body parts that I have to wrap as well, so it's not gonna be too fun. But I think the worst part's definitely gonna be this bumper right here and the wing. So I'm looking forward to that one. Now let's install my new mirror. I already did the other side, but off camera, but I'll do this one on camera.
Go yard.
Like what it do, ayy. I just put a two little shawty swerving in that cool, ayy. Cheeky if I don't love no thotties, put it on the true, ayy. That big highlights of us parties, I just told her who, ayy. She be for the homies, yeah, you know like what it do, ayy. I just put a two little shawty swerving in that cool, ayy. Cheeky if I don't love no thotties, put it on the true, ayy. That big highlights of us parties, I just told her who, ayy. She be for the homies, yeah, you know I know the crew. They just see me winning and they know I'm about to blow. You be making nothing but this music, give me dope.
Before I install the door handles back on, I'm gonna try to restore them. My girlfriend bought me these like little cloth pads that are supposed to restore trim. This is what it looks like currently applied. I know it's kind of hard to see, it's a little dark in the garage, but there's the other one that I haven't touched just yet, and you can see a slight difference. But in person, it's actually pretty big because this used to be like super gray and faded, but now it's like really black. So we'll see if this actually stays. And I'll be also using the same thing on the windshield wiper over here and the trim. So let's see how it turns out after I use it. Right now I'm gonna give these pieces a wash, and once they're all clean and dry, I'm gonna start wrapping them. Alright, so I think you guys are due for a little update. This is what the car currently looks like. It's pretty much almost finished up. I got the panels on right there that I said I needed to wash. Those are fully wrapped. I moved on to wrapping the front end of the car, so those two are wrapped. All I've left to do is wrap the rear white body panels, the side skirt area, and the front bumper. And after that, the only thing I will have left to do is just the wing, which the wing I might end up getting painted just because wrapping is gonna be a big pain in the ass. So what I'm working on right now is taking off the front bumper, taking it fully apart, prepping it for wrap, and then I'm gonna finish up wrapping these panels in the back by the end of this week. And next week I'll start working on the bumper, and then I'll start 3D printing the little piece that goes right here. I am honestly really happy with how the wrap looks on the car. Ignore the dust right there, it's very dusty in here, but it is very reflective. And there's not much orange peel either, which I'm very impressed with. Alright, I think it's update time. So this is what I've done so far. The bumper's completely off, all that's going to be redone today. I got the wide body finally wrapped. I do have the back piece that's in the house right now, that is also done, but I am getting new coilovers in for the rear, and every time I jack up the car in the back, the tire hits the wide body and it's really annoying, so I gotta take the wide body off if I want to take off the rear wheels. So I'm keeping it off just for now, but as soon as I get the coils on today or tomorrow, I'll get the fitment dial down and then I'm gonna put the wide body back on. So this is only temporarily. So yeah, I gotta paint the side skirt right here in the bottom and put the wide body back on and put the coilovers on. And next week I'll be working on painting the wing because it looks like trash right now, and I'm not wrapping it just because there's so many angles and curves on it. It's gonna be nearly impossible to get it perfect. So I got the parts all washed up, got the garage swept. All that's up now is to alcohol wipe everything, make sure it's 100% nice and clean with no grease. And once I do all that, I can go ahead and start masking the bumper and get it sprayed. Pretty much with this bumper, instead of wrapping the whole entire thing or painting the whole thing, I have decided to go ahead and wrap this area over here and cut into these triangles right here with the wrap. And then these little grills and the inside of the grills, I'm gonna go ahead and spray paint. It'll be just easier that way, and instead of having to make 1,000 inlays for this bumper, I've just decided to go ahead and spray paint it black. So I just got everything painted, the bumper trim piece, the grill. This is a pain in the ass of sand. I hated every second of it just because my fingers are so big and I can't really fit them in the holes. And then I used the water-based paint on the skirts for the Pandem kit. And I got a bummer. Pretty much, I tried using the water-based paint on the bumper and it literally just wanted to run off. I did sand the bumper pretty good. I got it with a fairly low grit. I think I went up to like 400, 500. But the paint literally looked like caramel running off of the bumper, and it was like a brownish color. So as soon as all this kind of dries, I'm gonna get it out of the way, and then I'm gonna have to jump start the Mercedes just because it died, and then put all the cars back where they were. And my rear coilovers should be coming in pretty soon. I ordered some BC Racing coilovers for the rear just because I'm using some Bilstein V8 rear shocks in the back, and I'm not really a big fan of how the car handles in the rear and it seems too bouncy. And pretty much for me to make the rear end stiffer, I have to wrap the car even higher, which makes the fitment look pretty stupid. Alright, so a little update time. Right now I'm working on wrapping the bumper. I wrapped one half of it and I did paint the inner piece right here. You guys will see it towards the end when I finish wrapping the bumper. All I gotta do is just pretty much trim it, wrap the top half, and install the bumper trim piece and put it on the car. And like I mentioned before, I ordered some BC Racing coilovers. These are for an E36 BMW. And a lot of the suspension components are actually very similar to my car. So I decided to go ahead and order these ones instead of these Bilstein V8s. These are the OEM type of shocks, and they're too soft and I'm not a huge fan of how they ride. So I went with some adjustable ones to where I can actually adjust them by the collar. And these ones can be adjusted with the damper knobs, just because I need something that's a little stiffer. But a fun story is whenever I order these, I've waited 5 weeks for these coilovers. And they came in with missing items. For example, this wasn't in the kit. And neither were the locking collars as well. And BC Racing tried telling me that their team actually put them in the bag when I know for a fact it didn't, just because they weren't in the box. From now on, what I'm gonna start doing is actually recording me opening old boxes, so that way I have proof of all the items are actually inside. Because I'm getting tired of companies shorting me out on parts and accusing me of stealing or lying to them when I actually didn't, because why would I need an extra pair of these? I have literally zero use for these. And same thing with the locking rings too. And another thing that I found out today when I was messing with the coilover some more is these washers that the coilovers come with, they're actually incorrect. Pretty much, I'm supposed to have 4 of these washers. They have the smaller hole, which perfectly fits around the shaft. But they sent me 3 of the correct washers and 2 extra of the incorrect washers. Which these washers, they wobble on top and they don't sit correctly. But I'm gonna go ahead and use my old ones from Bilstein's, so I don't have to wait longer for them to ship me just 1 washer. And this is why I don't usually buy stuff from BC Racing, just because their quality isn't the greatest from what I've heard, and the customer service is also ass. So here's the incorrect one. Whenever I put it on, see how it wobbles? But here's the correct one. And you put this one on, it doesn't wobble. It sits perfectly in there. I might be stupid, I don't know, but like, I know for a fact this shouldn't go on here. And the thing is, this whole thing came disassembled, so I had to assemble it myself. I think it'd be easier if they would have just built this for me and then sent it out without any missing parts. So, a bit upsetting. But I did get one on the car just to see if it would actually fit, because I knew the spacing was going to be extremely close. But this is what it looks like. We're like a few millimeters off on the side right here. I didn't see it rubbing, and honestly, if it does rub just a little bit, it'll just self-clearance itself, so I'm not too worried about that. But from what I'm seeing right here, it doesn't rub. And we can see the linkage for the sway bar right here. It's pretty close as well, but it's not touching. And it's pretty close to the bag, but the bag also didn't touch. And I'm gonna make sure later, whenever I air out the bag, that it doesn't actually rub or hit the shock or the coilover. And even if it does, as long as it doesn't hit anything sharp like this over here, then I should be okay to still run this. But as of now, it actually fits. And yeah, it is very close on spacing. And if some of you are wondering what brakes these are, you can check out my previous video. I did a whole brake upgrade on my car. I have front Brembos, and these ones are from a different Mercedes as well. So the backs are bigger, and the fronts are pretty big. OEM size I think is like 260 millimeters, but now it's 330. And this is like 278, I believe, somewhere around there. But the hardest part about this install is I have to remove this plastic trim panel, which I don't like doing just because of my whole air suspension setup. So I have to like pull this back to get to it, and it's a pain. But here it'll be a lot harder just because I have some air lines running through it. So I'm gonna have to figure out a way to pull this back without interfering with any of this to install the coilover on the other side. But pretty much the plan for today is to install both of the coilovers, put them in the car, get them all adjusted how I like. So that way the car actually sits a lot stiffer. And then finish wrapping the front bumper, get it all wrapped up, get the trim panel put back on, put it on the car, and then install my wide body piece that goes right here. And I mentioned earlier, whenever I jack up the car, the tire drops down so low that it actually hits the wide body panel right on this side. So I gotta pop it off every time I do this. Very annoying. And then sometime this week, I'll be taking this spoiler apart, prepping it for primer, and then actually painting it. And with the gurney flap as well, of course. And my 3D printer and my 3D scanner is coming in sometime this week. So I'm gonna figure out what software to use and how to use it to 3D print me a little piece that goes right here. And then we're pretty close to completion of this project. As far as the outside, of course. I still have to do the engine swap, bunch of rust repair, and rebuild the whole entire suspension sometime this winter. So here's a little update for you guys. Decided to take the car out for a drive to see how the new coilovers feel. And they feel pretty good. Pretty happy with them. I can still fully air out on the floor, so the fitment's really good. I'm sure you've noticed the wing is not on the car, but there's a reason for that. Pretty much I went to paint the wing myself and it didn't really turn out how I wanted to. And I decided to just pull the gun, strip the paint off again, and take it to a shop to do properly. Car still looks pretty good without a wing, but it's definitely missing it. And I went ahead and ordered a nice splitter from an E36 in the front. And as soon as I get that in, I'm going to put it on and spend some time working on this panel right here to get that 3D printed, 3D scanned and stuff. And then the very last bit would be for me to work on creating a little simple race livery. Pretty much just going to put a number right there with Decra up above, and then like my first name, last name, and then my flag. And for the hood, I'm going to do that wreath on the top. Maybe a number in the middle, maybe not. We will see. And all the way around the car, I'm going to have like little sponsors and stuff like that. So it should be very simple, but less is more. Don't forget that, guys.